Welcome back, my wonderful middle schoolers. Today, to create your atmospheric perspective pieces, you're going to need a piece of paper, a pencil, and 3 colored pencils. White, which you don't have to have. If you don't have a white, don't worry about it. 1 color, and then you're going to need a black colored pencil to help you do the next part. So I'm only going to have you do half a sheet of paper because it's going to be a lot of coloring. So I know a whole sheet of paper is a little daunting. So you are going to want to crease it really well if you don't have any scissors available. Just make sure you fold it back and forth and crease it a number of times. Use your nails if you have them. And you should be able to tear that piece really neatly, just like this. I'm already bent and torn those, like the threads that are in the paper. So now I have 2 sheets. What I'm gonna do is take 1/2 and I'm gonna tear it. If you have scissors, you can cut. Draw ahead of time if you want, but you don't have to. But you're gonna draw a mountain scene. I do have a few students that did cityscapes, which means it's like a skyline instead of like mountain lines. But I'll show you what it looks like with the cut side, and you can also, if you don't have scissors, use torn paper, which is kind of cool because it leaves all these extra ridges and stuff. But just make sure when you're tearing it, you're holding it really close to where you're ripping it from, because that's where you get your control from. That's how you're going to be able to control how far that paper tears. So using these tears, you're going to use this as a template to make the layers on your paper. So you want to create 6 sections. So we're going to go one. Now the reason I had you tear the other direction is so that when you are tracing these, if I was to trace this, move it down and trace it, it would be identical to the space above it. But because this is wider, I can kind of move it over and make this. So we have 1, 2, 3 so far. Actually might want to put one of these in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Move this over here. Three, 4, 5. So we're going to do 1 more. I'm going to go this way. Yeah. So there's a number of different ways you can make these lines. If you want to just draw them freehand, you can do it that way as well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to use colored pencils to make our values. An atmospheric perspective is showing not only that objects that are closer to you are larger, but also that objects that are farther away, that recede into the distance, are smaller, and they are higher up on the picture plane. The picture plane being your paper. So atmospheric perspective is not only showing all of those details, but also that the farther away these large landform objects get, the softer in color, the lighter in color that they get as well. So we are surrounded by atmospheric gases. And when you're looking at objects like landforms that are so large, as they get farther away and they are farther away in the atmosphere also creates this like hazy look. So that's why they appear to be lighter in color than the objects that are in the foreground. Okay, so you want to start with your lightest color at the top. In the video, you should have seen that this is what's called your tint. This is the color you choose plus white. Now, like I said before, the white isn't absolutely necessary. You can do this part without a white colored pencil. And let me show you how you do that. So on this side, I have already put the white down, and I'm going to blend my green on top so that it's very faint. You can barely see it, right? But you can also complete this same objective by just coloring really light with your colored pencil. Just showing lots of control with your pencil, all right? So the next section should also be a tint, but it's gonna be a little darker than this here. So I can either add the white like I had before, or do the same color, the same pressure, and when I have the same pressure, what I can do to darken it up and save my pencil from breaking or having to keep resharpening it is that I can put a second layer of color on top of that green, that first layer, just to make it a touch darker. So we have our first tint, we have a second tint, and then we're gonna put just the color here. So I want it to be kind of bright and vibrant. So I'm gonna put my first layer of color down, and then I'm gonna go back and do a second layer of color just to darken that up. And I'm not gonna spend all this time coloring. I will show you the next couple steps and let you fill it in as you can. So the next step is a gray. Now, most colored pencil packages don't come with a gray, but it will come with a black. So to vary how dark or how light your gray is how hard you push with your colored pencil. So this would be a light gray. So I would color all that light gray. This area here is going to be a darker gray, so I'm gonna press a little bit harder and maybe go through with a second coat to maybe make it a little darker where I want it. So these are gray tones. After I've made the grays that I want, I'm gonna go back in with the green to make it a real tone. So a tint is the color plus white, a tone is the color plus gray, and finally, a shade is the color plus black. So I have my two tints, I have my color, I should have two tones, and then you will have one shade at the bottom. And the shade should be really dark. So you might want to make sure that even though it's dark, you can still see the color. So for example, I might want to color my black like this because it's still pretty dark, and then blend my color in with that so I have a really nice shade. Okay, middle school. So there's a couple different things that I did with after I had gotten the colors the way I wanted them. I went back through and added maybe a little more color. And then what I also did was I kind of took the colors and I just made the lines of my mountains just a tad darker and more defined. So if you want to have your mountains or whatever line you choose to do and have it kind of fade and blend down to a lighter shade that you can, or a lighter hue, you can even do that. So have fun, take your time, and I can't wait to see what you come up with.